it's time for the review through the papers. We'll first chat to our guest, James McInerney, a poet, an author and photographer. Morning to you.
Good morning.
And also a painter and decorator.
I am a painter. Yes, full-time, and then, trying to fit everything in as it goes along.
But as you progress in your career, you see, that's what helps you. Yeah. Financially, until you earn enough money where you can say bye to that.
Yes, and I do enjoy it, and it has been like a full-time job. But I have to squeeze everything else in between, at the weekends and around, and trying to keep up with it all. It's busy, but I enjoy it.
Good stuff. So, a bit like me, really. I mean, I suppose I didn't really take that much of an interest into writing and reading till a bit later in life, and you're the same. So, when did it first grab you, and how?
Well, about 98. I didn't really do poetry at school. We were never taught poetry. I don't know how it happened. It just happened like overnight. I started mixing classical music with writing.
As you do.
As you do. Well, it's actually film scores. I love film scores, and I kind of like use them to help me write. It's the only way I can do it. Started there and kind of like started sharing it on the social networking sites. People really liked it, and I thought, okay, I'll carry on, and kind of got an audience there, and it spurred me on to keep writing, and now I just can't stop writing. So it's the kind of thing I'll do all the while. So
what were the reactions, and how many people were getting in touch with this? Because for people that don't know, if you put something on the internet, on certain sites, it can spread like wildfire.
Yeah, well, people were sharing them, loving them, really relating to everything I wrote. That's me, that's about me, they were saying. I hope it wasn't. But it was really a case of people really related to everything I wrote, really loved it. And you get the people that generally follow you, they think you write, they look, they keep an eye on what you're doing. And those kind of people have stuck with me and have built an audience.
Now, I went to the Hay Festival for the first time this week, which is the literacy festival arts based in Hay-on-Wye in Wales, and I had a fantastic time there. I mean, I really got into it. Some fantastic writers there, and you learn so much. And what would you say are the top tips to become a great writer? How have you progressed since you first started?
Well, I think I've progressed because I haven't really tried to be like anyone else. I think that's the difference. You've got to really try. It takes a while to get used to being you. Instead of trying to compare yourself to someone else and think that people are going to compare you. So I kind of it took me a while to identify my own, who I was, and that kind of helps. So you've really got to make it your own.
Well, they always say love yourself and your self-confidence grows.
Yes, it does. I think I do have I lack self-confidence. I do feel as when I put stuff up, I think people aren't going to like it. And that comes over time. You really have to get used to finding your own way and your own style. And I think that's the thing. It's a big world out there. There's so many writers. And actually, now you mentioned that you were talking about flowers, and I've actually got a poem I wrote last week, which is brand new.
No.
Yes.
Since I was talking to Johnny Amos.
Yes, it was like it was meant to be.
You've got a poem about flowers. You've never read this before, have you?
No, I have anywhere. It's brand new.
Okay, do you want to go? Because I think people need to hear your work.
Yes, okay.
Before we go into the papers.
Okay, so it's called Such Precious Things. And actually the flowers in it relate to people. That's the metaphor. So
look out for yourself in a particular flower in this piece.
Yes. It's such precious things lead fragile lives, and yet they live out in plain sight. I see them fade before my very eyes in the way an unwanted flower might. Each dainty leaf once tended to now sits left to wither, like forgotten things do. Be it a beautiful rose in the fullest of bloom, or a wild flower gone wild, awaiting its groom. How they dwell all alone, devoid of attention, no longer seen, as they disappear without the slightest of mention. And in their place sits another, such a beauty to behold, unaware of how much it will be treasured, for it shall never be told.
That was great. Where did you write that? How long did it take you?
It took me a while, but I just kind of keep a pen and paper in my pocket all the while. Everywhere I walk, I've got a pen and paper, and I stick my iPod on, and I listen to film scores.
What film score were you listening to when you wrote that then?
I always used Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley film.
Okay.
Because there's so much classical music in that. I bought the soundtrack, and it's just amazing. So I kind of use that's my main one.
The one thing I've learned is that actually writing is at the heart of everything.
Yeah.
It's at the heart of what we do in radio, television, drama, acting, poetry, obviously, in terms of the writing, the style. And it's a good thing to get to grips with, isn't it? In songwriting.
It's all the same. Lyrics and poetry kind of cross, each other. So I've worked with a lot of YouTubers who have turned my poetry into songs. And they've had some really good airplay as well. So, I mean, it's been really good fun over the years of working with YouTubers, actors, actresses who have all turned my poems and made them something more than just a written word, actually voiced them and turned them into songs which
Okay.
really...
And with James McInerney, a poet, author and photographer who's here for the paper review. So it's quite a busy one, I think, this morning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Looking at the papers, obviously the 2 weeks in the World Cup starts. I think England play Italy in the opening.
They do. 14th of June, something like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and obviously now that's happening, there's a lot of media coverage on it, and the big one at the moment is about rigging. People rigging the actual World Cup games with Nigerians offering euros to basically get the players yellow and red cards, which obviously is something that's not good at all for the actual World Cup. But it's about 50,000 euros for a yellow card and 100,000 for a red card.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. So this is if somebody gives away a yellow card,
Yeah.
or a penalty, they will get an alleged bribe.
Yeah, bribe, yeah. You can basically place your bets and you can basically change the games the way they are, So I think it's very wrong. And obviously on top of that, with the 2020 Qatar, World Cup bid as well being in jeopardy as well. So
there's all that as well about emails that have been going on for years. And I mean, is this the kind of thing that you think that's been in the game for a long time anyway? Do you think this has happened years ago? It's just we hear about it more now.
Yeah, I think because of it's always gone on, like with the cricket and everything else. But I think obviously now the media is more everywhere. It's more readily available for people to see, and it's reported more. Obviously, it happened in the old days, but not reported as easily and readily as it is now. So you do learn more information by just opening the Sunday papers than you would ever know. So I just think it's just a very bad thing, really.
Do you think, though, that now that it's kind of been put out there in the papers that less of that is likely, or people are just more aware of it? So
more aware of it. I don't think it's less because it's money, isn't it? Money talks. And for that kind of thing, I don't think this is going to go away. I think it's just going to be more quieter.
But surely football players earn enough anyway. They don't need to worry about things like that.
I know, but it's happened over the years with football players that have been disgraced. Secret filming where they've took bribes. And it's just, I don't know. It's the world, I guess.
And what newspaper's reporting that today?
It's the Sun today. So that's today. They've got a big spread on the first few pages, actually, all over the place on that. So they've obviously gone to town on that one and made it a big thing. Obviously, again, like with the World Cup starting in 2 weeks, it's going to be all this now up to the build-up to the World Cup, I think.
Okay, and what are the papers you've been looking at this morning? What are the stories can you tell us about?
I suppose we looked at Sunday Mirror for a bit of entertainment news with the whole One Direction and the drugs.
Now, I've been reading about this in the week. Okay, so I mean, have they got a new album coming out?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It must be the autobiography. It's got to go in there, the drug section,
Are they changing direction? Is the question. I mean, it happened with Justin Bieber recently. I suppose I'm just a little bit sceptical about these kind of things. So just relay the story. What supposedly happened?
Well, they were caught. I think it was
in Peru, wasn't it?
Yeah, Louis and Zayn. Not that I'm a One Direction fan, know their names off by heart, but they were caught basically smoking drugs, weren't they?
Okay, and I'm not condoning in any way, shape or form, but this is in a country where it is legal to do so.
Yes, it is, yeah. And I think that's the thing. But the thing is, it's just media, isn't it? They're heavily in the spotlight, and anything they do, I suppose, comes straight back to them, and I think that's just the way it is. And it's, I think the problem with One Direction is maybe they're splitting up or whatever they're doing, because I noticed at the last Brit Awards that they kind of won less awards than they would do on the previous ones. So maybe there is some trouble in the camp or something's happening or changing.
Why do you think that stories like that get put in the spotlight like they do?
Because there's a lot of people love entertainment nowadays, especially young people. They love the entertainment news, the magazines and the online Twitter and everything else. They love to follow things, and I suppose it is good stories for the newspapers to sell newspapers. And I think obviously One Direction are global and they're massive. And any little thing they do gets blown up out of, even like you say, in the country it's okay, but obviously over here it's a big news story.
You just see some of the other things that are going on in the world, and you see that on the front paper, and you think, what?
Yeah,
what?
In comparison, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, in comparison to that, in the Sunday Mirror, obviously the soldier was held by the Taliban for 5 years. Has been released now.
Now, this is an incredible story, because when I first heard this, I mean, the first thing I was thinking was, I mean, what a situation to be in, and probably not knowing if you're ever going to be released or what might happen to you next. We don't know the exact details of what happened to the soldier during the 5 years, but I can imagine, very unpleasant.
Yeah.
But he's been released in return for five Guantanamo
Afghans, I think it is. Is it? Yeah, Afghan men. 5 Afghan men in Guantanamo have been released to help him get released. Which I know it's a lovely story, but it just seems, in comparison to the 5 and 1. The ratio, it just seems
unfair.
Definitely unfair, but I suppose they've had to make a deal somewhere, to get this guy released, and let's hope there's more deals and more deals to get more people released.
So it does seem to be a weekend of deals at the moment. You were talking about the World
Yes,
Cup
there. I should have come with that. Yes, I mean obviously there's the politics side of things with the Nick Clegg trying to get rid of, and the
Lib Dem situation.
Yeah, Farage and everything. But I mean, actually, there's not much of that in the newspapers lately. I had to really try and find stuff. They've kind of disappeared.
Okay, and finally on a foodie theme.
Food, yeah. Okay, so in the Observer, McDonald's are under fire. Their adverts to promote healthier foods are failing. Children apparently choose French fries still over carrots.
See, I have to be honest with you, and I occasionally go to that very fast food chain. Others are available. I don't do it all the time, but I do it occasionally, and my little girl occasionally after swimming we might pop in. But you go there for that very thing. You don't go there for anything else.
You do.
So I don't know why. Why not just hold your hands up and say this is what we do?
As long as you don't go there every day, I mean, it's fine. Eat sensibly. But it's just obviously they're under fire for promoting unhealthiness.
Well, there's nothing new there for them. I'm sure they're used to it, and I'm sure they have a marketing campaign working on that right now. James McInerney, the local poet, author, and photographer, joining us for the paper review this morning. Thank you very much for that, James. That's brilliant.
Okay.
And for reading a poem earlier on. I really like your work. In Between the Lines is your book, a collection of poems and photographs by James, is out now.
It is, on Amazon. So if you go to my website, just put James McInerney Wicks into Google, it comes up straight away on the first one on the list. You can order my book. It's on Kindle, it's on everything. It's all available to order through the website if you don't want to go to Amazon.
And what about this good news that I'm hearing about you?
My book is in quite a few libraries at the moment, being borrowed and everything, but it's actually made it into the British Library in London, which is the biggest library in the world, and it's going to be in the reference section, not to borrow but to be there, and it's going to be there forever.
Congratulations.
So in 2090, I'll still, even when I'm gone...
You'll be around forever.
Yeah.
So when are you going to be able to stop painting and decorating, or do you enjoy doing that and you want to carry on?
I enjoy doing it because it pays the bills. But I don't know.
Will this ever pay the bills?
I don't know. Second book, maybe when the second book comes out, because everyone keeps asking me when it's coming out, which I'm currently writing now, and that's quite a lot of people want to read it. So who knows what the future is? But every year it's got busier and busier for me. So I don't know.
Well, good luck, James, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you.